What's up, Manna, you majors? I'm back for part 2 of taking a look at the parable of the talents from Matthew 25, 14 through 30. If you have not seen part 1, go back and check it out. I'm excited to continue looking at some applications from this parable. So I'm not going to read you the entire parable, you can see that in part 1, but I'll just give a brief synopsis. So, there was this master who gathered the servants together. The master was about to go on a trip, but before he did, he entrusted to them his property. To the first servant he gave 5 talents, to the second servant he gave 2 talents, and to the final servant he gave 1 talent. Then he went away. The first servant doubled the master's money and went from 5 to 10 talents. The second servant doubled and went from 2 to 4 talents. And the third servant didn't know what to do. He was scared, fearful, so he dug a hole and buried his master's money, which just seems crazy. So when the master returned, the first 2 servants received this narrative of, "Well done, good and faithful servant. You've done well with a little, so I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master." The third servant received a much different narrative. He was called a wicked and slothful servant, and he was banished. He was sent away to a place of weeping and gnashing of teeth. So that's the synopsis. Last week, we discussed our role as the servant. This week, I want to focus on God as the best master entrusting his servants with his property. What we have been entrusted with in this life is our master's property, God's property. Make no mistake that our money, our things, our intelligence, our level of competence, our spiritual gifts is all God's, not ours. But he entrusts us with these things. Just because the master handed it over to the servants doesn't mean that it is their property. It is still the master's property. That is important to remember because at times we can have a tendency of grabbing hold of things and hoarding them like they're ours. But if it's never ours, why would we ever hoard it? We are so much more free to be generous if we realize that all of our property is actually God's property. Something else that I think is neat here is if you look at the footnotes in this parable, it tells us that a talent was a monetary unit worth about 20 years' wages for a standard laborer. I think that speaks to how much our master wants to entrust to us. Even the last servant who only received 1 talent, that was still worth a lot. And it is worth doing well with a little so he can set us over much. I've witnessed in my own life that my master has been generous with his property to me, and it hasn't always been easy. And sometimes I haven't been a faithful servant, but the more I truly realize that it is all his property, the easier it has become to steward it well. So that is this week's insight into the parable of the talents. Know that it is his property and steward it well. Hope to see you next time as we continue dissecting the parable of the talents. Love you, Manna, you fam.